All right, good evening, good afternoon, good morning to everyone who's tuning into Manager's Chat Room. Manager's Chat Room is our once in a month space where we get to interact with professionals, where we get to share ideas. It's a little bit different from the podcast if you look at it, because we give managers space to also communicate with our guests, also have the opportunity to ask those personal and pressing questions that might be disturbing to you, might be in your organization or personally in your own personal journey. But it's that space where we have that one-to-one conversation with our audience, with our guests, and see how to promote the future of work. And they also talk about what is going on in the technological space and see how to make that work. And today, it's so good to be here and to host this webinar for the month of June. So thank you very much to everyone who's been able to tune in. And today we have a very distinguished person, very distinguished guest, who's gone through the whole business of cybersecurity, let me put it that way, and has also helped us fight some of the cyber crimes. You know, the guys like you have in the war front, the military with the guns, but his own is with his laptop and codes and backend codes, which I'm always very scared of sometimes. When we get to speak this language, it's always very, very crazy sometimes, but it's always worth it to know and to learn. And today I have with me Obinna. Good to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Matthew. When you were talking, I wasn't sure who you were introducing. It's good to be here. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Thank you very much. It's good to have you. So at Manager's Chat Room, like I said, it's a space to learn, a space to connect, a space to collaborate. And having you today, been here today with you to talk about strengthening cybersecurity and how we can integrate some of these essentials for corporations, for organizations, for individuals, and for everyone looking at, going into hybrid space, hybrid work process, because the future of work is hybrid, the future of work is remote. And however you're going to do that, it's threatening to even think about it, because if it's not a work laptop, you might have, because I'm using my personal laptop and sending documents that belongs to the company. You don't know who is going to access those documents, right? You don't know how you're going to do that. And if you're not careful with it, you realize that one thing that would have led to maybe if it would have been just ordinary buying a laptop to give to that employee to know that, oh, this is only work laptop, you don't do any other thing on this PC, would have still mitigated all of that risk. But today, our guest here, Obinna, will share in-depth information on that and help us see how to navigate all of these challenges. But before he proceeds, Obinna, please, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you've been able to navigate through your own military zone? How would I call it? Yeah, it's a military zone because you have your own weapon. Your own weapon is a laptop. Your weapon are those keys and those codes you write. Please walk us through your journey a little bit. Thank you very much.
All right. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Obinna Clement, like my host, Matthew, has introduced. And I'm honored to be here to share insights on strengthening cybersecurity with your organization. I have some experience in the healthcare sector, working with the state government in Nigeria, and I have firsthand I've seen firsthand importance of robust cybersecurity measures. Today we're going to be covering 5 points, crucial 5 points for protecting your business against cyber threats. So I did a degree in information system technology, and I majored in cyber security and forensics.
Okay.
And I took interest in forensics because of the nature and the complexity of it. I was just intrigued by it, learning cryptography and how mathematics works with computers, basically how to encrypt the data.
Okay.
Since I've also been staying up to date and well informed with the recent threats and trends of the cyberspace. It moves very fast and things change quite quickly. You can go to bed with one information and wake up with a new different way of doing things in the cyberspace.
How does that make you how does that make you feel when you wake up to realize that you have to do something, like you have to get back to work, or you have to learn something you thought wasn't relevant?
Well, it's the challenge. So I find it interesting the way you say the military war front. It feels like a war zone sometimes, but the beauty of war or rather the understanding of war, is to know as much about your enemy as possible, so that
Of
you can be
course.
able to overcome them, and have the victory. So yeah, that's been one of the things that drives me in the cybersecurity space, is interest, and seeing the intriguing nature, and as well the way the industry is forming and keeps growing. See, the internet in itself as a whole is not very is not very ancient, so to say.
Okay.
So there are more opportunities out there, but there are also more threats. Let me speak from the cyberspace. There are also more threats that are coming in, and we have to mitigate and tackle these challenges as we go on. Yeah.
All right. No problem. No problem. Okay. So please, you can go ahead with your presentation. Let's see how to fight and combat these threats together.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. All right. So, like I said, I'll be covering 5 key points crucial for protecting your business against cyber threats. The first one I'm going to talk about is understanding the cyber threat landscape. Basically, understanding what you're going to be dealing with and what is out there. And yeah, thank you so much, Matthew, for the slides. They're really helpful. And so, understanding the landscape, we are going to look at many of the or some of the major threats that most businesses are going to be facing. The first one is ransomware. Ransomware is basically a malicious software that encrypts data and demands ransom. All right, you can mitigate the ransomware attacks by regular data backups and solid response plan. All right, and also another threat that is quite prevailing now is the phishing attack. Basically, it's just attackers framing a message or an email message to look as though it has come from the original organization, but with the intent of stealing data and getting access into the system. And just maybe you could put a slash there next to phishing. There's a new trend now that is called SMISHING. All right. So attackers have now gotten to the level of now using SMS messages. All right. So the same way that just phishing is for email, smishing is for SMSs. So they use those SMSs, crafting them to look as though that they are the let's say Amazon message has come in and they said, oh, your shipping tracking is available, send us your credit card number to confirm this. They make the message look as though it is from the organization or on the original organization, which is not. It's just with the intent to steal data. Another prevailing one again is social engineering. Basically, these are where the attackers study your normal routine, all right, and then use your. I'm trying to break it down. I don't want to use many technical words, so that it is as simple as possible. Using your basic life to sort of find loopholes in your normal practices, okay, to hack or to access information. For example, if they know that you always go to get lunch at a particular restaurant, they can set up something there to grab some information off your credit card, off your phone, off your laptop, or whatever it is, or whatever computing device that you might have. All right. Another one that is quite interesting is the advanced persistent threat, APTs. Basically, these are long-term targeted attacks aimed at stealing information. And to mitigate this, you must have robust monitoring and incident detection systems, which are very essential to combating the advanced persistent threats. For example, I just thought to say this, attackers or hackers, all right? So before I go further, there are 3 types of hackers. There's the white hat hacker, which is the good guys. There's the black hat hackers, which are the bad guys. And then there's the gray hat hackers. All right. The gray hat hackers can be good and can be bad, depending on the situation. All right. So for the advanced persistent threats, what they just do is that they just break into your system and stay there. Okay. Just observing, watching your transactions, watching your messages, not doing anything at all, and collecting as much information as possible. These are very, it's crazy to think about it when you just phantom advanced persistent threat. They just stay there. They're just watching you. They're not attacking. They're just observing and collecting as much information as possible. So these are some of the cyber security landscape that we are going to be dealing with on a regular. And so you must understand that cyber security spreads across three spheres. Okay. When I mean cyber security is just the practice of securing data, digital assets, and information of an organization, a person, or government. So some industry-specific risks could be targeted at healthcare facilities, finance organizations, and government infrastructure. All right, for the healthcare, we must be aware to protect patients' data and ensure the HIPAA compliance. HIPAA is basically Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. All right, where these are just protocols and policies that are put in place to secure our health records, because you can be easily identified with your health records. What an attacker will be looking out for are identifiable traits. For again, I hope I'm trying to make this as simple as possible so that anybody can understand it and not be really intimidated by the cybersecurity thing. Once you're online and once you have a
please go
digital,
ahead. Yeah, we are understanding you. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So once you have a computing device, remember I said that the cyber sphere goes through three spheres: your personal, organizational, and governmental. So once you have a computing device at any of these levels, you have, or you are giving up their identifiable traits, all right, like your IP address, your username, your profile picture, your spending patterns. So these are information that attackers are looking for to identify you. So I'm just trying to explain the HIPAA policy to help industry-specific risks to be mitigated in the health sector. And also the finance sector will mitigation I'll talk about is implementing strong encryption and fraud detection systems. We're going to talk a bit more about this down the slide, and let's see how it goes. The second point I wanted to talk about, which is critical for protecting your business against cyber threats, is the importance of cyber hygiene. The first one is the best practices. You must use best practices. For example, using complex passwords, right? Or passwords these days, you can have a password for many things. So a way to help you there is to use password managers. Password managers will help you with good practices. They are really good, and you can make use of them properly. And the third one is multi-factor authentication, MFAs. So not just username and password, but also a notification is sent at either to your email, SMS, a phone call, or whatever, to verify that you are actually the person that is logging into this system, so that to have a proper cyber hygiene around it. Second one for the best practice is regular updates. You see, regular updates and systems to fix vulnerabilities. Most times, organizations that provide softwares are aware of these threats. They have teams that are always looking out for threats, loopholes, to help find solutions to those loopholes and threats. So when there's an update that has been released, it's very advisable to quickly update those systems, and so that those threats that have been identified and then resolved by these software providers, you can be on the safe side. All right. It's very risky, for example, to have or to be running your organization on or your systems, the IT section, basically on Windows 7. You see, you're open to all the
People
threats of
still do
Windows
that.
7. I'm telling you, believe it or not, but yes, some organizations are just a bit, maybe they say, it's not that important, but just to give you
Windows 7.
Sorry?
That's outdated.
But well, we see these things. So just to give you an example, 75% of cyber attacks are on SMEs, small and middle enterprises. 75% of them are on those SMEs. So, and those SMEs, one of the things that you find is that they're using outdated systems. all right, or old systems to run their servers or to run their office computers. You see, so they might say, "Oh, we will update later," but you see, an attacker is just enjoying a field day in your systems there. Anyway, the third point of best practices will be to securing all endpoints, including devices, laptops, and Internet of Things devices, IoT devices. I'm going to talk a bit about this later, Internet of Things, because the more technology advances and the more innovation is being pushed. All right, there are more things that are becoming smarter now. We have smart coffee makers, we have smart curtain openers, we have smart fans, smart ACs, smart CCTV cameras. All these are Internet of Things. All right, smart sprinklers, smart lights, whatever regulators. All right, so these have been made to have computing abilities with also the ability to be connected to the internet. So that means that now they have unique identifiers, like I said, the IP addresses, which makes them visible for attacks. So even though these systems are being developed, the security aspect of it, as it's being connected to the internet, is as well important. So that's why I'm talking about endpoints, securing all endpoints, making sure that your phones are secured, laptops are secured, CCTV cameras are secured. Whatever it is that is connected to the internet must follow the security protocols. Right.
Can a system entirely be secured?
Well, yes, with practice.
Okay.
Okay.
How do you mean?
So, like I said, to understand this at the basic level, cybersecurity is just the practice of protecting digital assets, data, and infrastructure. So the more you put into practice these measures, the stronger you become. Okay, and the more you're aware of the ever-changing landscape of cybersecurity, the more you are at the forefront of mitigating those risks if, for instance, they happen. Okay, so yes, I will answer yes, and also a bit of no. If you're not at the interest of making sure that your systems are up to date, of course your systems won't be secured. You're sitting duck, for example.
Why I'm asking is because you know that every day we have updates, and sometimes some of these updates are for organizations or businesses to leverage for their own benefit, right? Not really very open, and because they've made an update, the previous updates will start misbehaving, having loopholes, having errors, and not everybody actually wants to get down to that updates, right? So so that's what I'm asking. So in following that, for example, I know Apple is always very frequent in making updates. Apple is always very frequent making updates. So that's what I'm asking. So that can a system entirely be attacked despite all of these measures you've been able to mention?
It's interesting you mentioned that. In the black hat hackers, will I say, community, all right, there's something called the 0-day attack. So an update can come out today, all right, and the very day that the update comes out, the attackers are already exploiting the vulnerabilities of that system, that particular update. So you see, it gives it a very complex landscape. Again, in order to mitigate these things, you must be willing to put in the practice. Okay, remember my simple definition of cybersecurity: practice of securing digital assets. You must be willing to put in the work at the practice level. Yeah, and practice, of course, is using relevant skill set and teams to work at it. So it's like I said, cybersecurity is broad, but you can start somewhere where you are, right? Like we said, some cybersecurity hygienes. Number one I talked about is best practices. All right, just being compliant with the update, even though it looks very regular. There's a reason why it's irregular. They might not exactly tell you, all right, that this update we've just had has a vulnerability already. So we are working on a new one that will be out by Monday. So please update to Monday, Monday's own. If you're on last week's own, you are vulnerable, basically.
Now
I hope
we don't expect big companies like that to just come and tell us that, oh, we're actually vulnerable. That will pose a lot of fear in the customer's mind.
no, it won't be. Yeah, exactly what you're saying. They won't come out and tell you that oh, we've been attacked. Although they will take litigation measures and involving the relevant authorities to help get to the root of that crime. But to make it public, it's just what it is. All right. So just to give a bit of insight, most of the heavy attacks, when I'm talking about heavy attacks and persistent attacks, are on financial systems, financial institutions, and financial organizations. So, and that's where your money is basically. So your bank is not going to come and tell you, oh, we were hacked yesterday. You pull your entire money out of it. But you see, they are battling this at the forefront of financial institutions. And again, down the slide, we're going to mention a bit about how to work around that and to help you stay more secured around it. So we're talking about the importance of cyber hygiene. I've talked about the best practices. Second is employee training. I'm particularly passionate about this one because systems are not designed to fail. All right. Systems are not designed to fail per se. It is the user who is most vulnerable in a cybersecurity environment. So to conduct regular cybersecurity training sessions and to use interactive tools and phishing simulators, like give your organization practical examples of what is phishing, because we can talk about phishing theory, talk about theory all the time, but if they don't see what it's like, and to help them identify when a phishing is happening or when a smishing is happening or when we are under ransomware attack or any malicious where we should know or see how it works and see how dangerous these attacks can be. All right. And as well, we can foster continuous communication about cyber security practices. This is going to help immensely to keep your organization up to date. The people, the ones who actually use the system, help educate them on the importance of just clicking that update that IT has approved to click. Again, hackers are aware that people want to stay up to date, so they can use like this one that is very persistent. I think in the past 15 years, the Adobe update. So it's a virus, but it comes as an update. So how do you know which one is an update and which one is not? The cyber security team and the IT team will be most valuable in helping organizations understand which one is correct and which one is not. All right. So I hope that we can get back to that shortly. So number 3 is building a cyber security culture. So number 1, we've talked about understanding the cyber threat landscape. Number 2, the importance of cyber hygiene. The third important key crucial for protecting your business against cyber threats is building a cyber security culture. And this is where the leadership actually comes in, leadership and governance. Because the leaders are the ones who set the tone for cybersecurity from the top. What you don't talk about as a leader will never really be considered. Let's just be honest about it. Leadership is all about influence. The more you influence your organization towards being cyber secure, the more your organization will be cyber secure.
Okay.
All right. So it's important for us to as leaders to set the tone for cybersecurity from the top, and we must establish comprehensive policies and governance frameworks like the NIST, the ISO framework to help give us guidelines and policies on how to handle information, procedures, and processes regarding digital assets, regarding data, regarding systems and the use of systems in our organizations. And of course, promote accountability with clear roles and responsibilities. So this is a very important, because let me just give you a try and paint a scenario. Not everybody is supposed to go into the server room. All right. So we see somebody from maybe another department accessing the server room, and they all say, oh, we are trying to work together. It doesn't work like that, because how will you then put in what's it called? Or like call it access control, if anybody can just walk into the server room and do whatever it is there. These are digital assets and should be protected and guarded properly. The second,
It's like what do you call it? Asking an accountant to go do a system update in the server room.
yeah,
Right.
it's amazing to think about that. But you see, maybe for an SME, exactly what I said, that most attacks are gonna targeted at small and middle enterprises, because
But
they might feel like,
but I feel the big corporations are also being attacked most of the times, and even though we don't really hear much of it.
yeah, they do. They are being attacked. But like I said, the statistics from an organization which is called the Sophos indicates that over 75% of cyber threats are on the small businesses. You see, because the big businesses are already or have a plan already, okay, or they are able to afford one, or can be able to implement one quickly enough. But for the small businesses and middle businesses, might be, they might make trade-offs, for whatever reason. But I hope this workshop today, strengthening cybersecurity, will help them, or will help us see reason to build a cybersecurity culture. Second aspect I want to talk about in building a cybersecurity culture is creating awareness, regular communication from the leadership about cybersecurity importance. The reason to there's this practice that we had in the health sector while I was interacting with them there, is to always change your passwords for every 3 to 4 months. Every 3 to 4 months, change your password. But I believe that now that has been upgraded with password softwares. You see,
Authenticators, right?
yeah, password managers. So you don't really have to change it, but the password managers, again, the password manager itself, that is the software, needs a password.
So what if I forget the password, the password to the password manager?
They should have recovery processes for that, where you have to,
Uh,
verify that you are the original person, and
wow.
to make sure that the person accessing it, or who has forgotten it, is the person who should what do you call it?
Have access
Have
to it.
access to it. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So what are some of these password managers you can think of?
I think Google has one, Apple has one as well, and I think Dropbox also has one, where you can
Okay.
store passwords of across websites, emails, whatever, in that software. So it communicates whenever you log in or try to access a website that demands a username and a password, which is already saved. It just
Yeah.
gives you the access, because you have given it that authority to do that. So Google, Apple, and Dropbox. These are the three that I know that are very strong there. Yeah.
So how secure are they? How secure are they for them to just be, because you know, like Google, you could
Yeah.
anybody could just get access to Google. I know of Apple having what do you call it, more of stronger authentication, but I know that anybody could still access it, right? So
Yeah.
what's that durability, that if, for example, as an SME, I make use of each of these space and I
Yeah.
can ensure that this thing works, or do I have to go meet maybe a cyber expert like yourself and tell them, oh, you'll be a password manager that can house all of this information, maybe like a key.
Yeah. Okay. For the Google instance, there Google has it's free to use, free tier of usage. All right. And then there's the paid version. All
Oh,
right. The
okay.
paid version gives you a bit more services. Okay, so you have customer care. Your business is hosted on a different domain. All right, so
Yeah,
that they give you those services that are different from just the free to use. You can start out with free to use, but quickly plan to go to the paid version. And if you can start out on the paid version, the better. Involving a cybersecurity expert in the decision making will be helpful, so that you have a better understanding as an organization, the types of practices and policies that we are using to secure our place. So that when you see something that is not what was decided, it's easy to point it out. So it's
Okay.
important to have a cyber expert there at the decision making, all right, or the consideration, let me put it like that, so that you're able to make the decision as a team. Remember, we're talking about the leadership and governance, building a cybersecurity culture, so that when the way we do things here, which is secure and which we are improving and constantly trying to push down every tier of our organization, when we
Yeah.
notice something that we have not agreed to, we can easily point it out. You see,
Okay.
let's say we say on Mondays, let me just give I don't want to make it very technical. On Mondays, everybody's wearing white, all right? And somebody comes wearing blue. You already know that that person is not in the loop of information. You see, you can easily
Yeah.
single them out. So let's say we are using Google and you see somebody using Dropbox, you can easily tell them, what's up? Do you have any ulterior motives for us here? So
But now, okay, from what you shared, I want to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've talked about the role of a cybersecurity expert. Now, is it possible for the experts to build a unified password manager only for that organization, or you still recommend using the other ones you mentioned?
That is, let me, if I get the question right, that is the password manager, the password manager.
Yes.
Oh, well, it depends on what the organization wants to do. Okay, it depends on what goal are we trying to achieve here. Do we just want all our passwords for this organization stored in a particular server and can only be accessed with that server? All right, so those goes with theirs as well. Or do we want to use because the password manager basically includes the cloud technology, cloud architecture, where software as a service, where you employ a software as a service to help with an aspect of your business. Right? And that's basically what it is. So the investment that will develop that organization's software as a service it could be a trade-off. I mean, if you really want to do it, why not? But it's again, there are options that you can explore. So it depends on again, as a team. Remember, we're talking about the leadership of the organization coming together to create the cyber security culture of the organization, so that we are in unison on how we use data and how we secure our systems and endpoints of the organization and the systems we use. All right.
Thank you.
All right, so just to round up on the creating awareness part, also try and engage employees through gamification. What do I mean gamification? Simulate it like a game, all right, so that they can get the feel of what it is. Maybe simulate a cyber attack, right? Like a ransomware attack on the organization, or detecting a persistent attacker, right? What do we do? Creating that there are scenarios where we can set up for that to happen, and also have recognition programs and updates on security practices. Again, remember I talked about practices, so these practices should be updated on a regular to keep up with the ever dynamic landscape of cyber security. All right. So we've talked about number one is understanding the cyber threat landscape. Number two is importance of cyber hygiene. Number three is building a cyber security culture. And number four, which I want to talk about now, is incident response and business continuity. The best way to the first step basically to have or respond to an attack is to be prepared for it. All right. Develop an incident response plan, basically, for identification, containment, eradication, recovery, and lessons learned. One of the beauties of, and again, like I said, one of the things that drew me into it was that inquisitive nature that comes with cybersecurity. Right. So you have to be able to understand the particular threat and how this particular virus works. All right. So even though you're under attack, there has to be sort of somebody there that is just studying what the virus is doing. Okay.
Wow.
So
People do
yeah,
that. Wow.
Yeah, so as the attack is happening, somebody's responding to it, somebody's containing it from it not spreading. All right, like I said, there's an incident response plan. I'm trying to compress a whole aspect of incident response because it's a field on its own. It's an offshoot of a
Okay.
field on its own. There are people
Okay.
who specialize in just incident response, and they specialize in just identifying the risk. You see, because you'll be looking at a lot of data. That's where big data analysis comes in as well, to have the analytical skills to know, some little figures are missing here or little figures are being sifted off here. You see, it takes a lot, and then containment, eradication, recovery, and lessons learned. I want to, because I'm interested in the lesson learned, so that you can share more about how this has happened, right? What we can do to prevent it, and what we can share with other people in our sector or in our organization about such prevailing threats.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why the incident response is quite important. And again, assigning roles and responsibilities in advance. Who's gonna do what? How are we gonna tackle this ransomware, for example? Should we pay or should we not pay? All right, should we delay the delay the attackers while we try to decrypt the encrypted data? Because ransomware just encrypts. Encrypt is to hide, encrypt your data so you're not able to use it anymore, the organization's data. So then until you pay a certain amount that they demand as the ransom, then they'll release your data. And even at that, sometimes some of
They
the
still
attack,
demand more.
yeah, or they don't give you everything back the way it was. So these are
Wow.
some of the lessons learned that we can pull from being prepared, all right? And you can as well in the incident response look at as the incident response team have assigned roles and responsibilities in advance, and then conduct regular drills and tabletop exercises. Again, practice in the practice, just like the way you excitedly mentioned, is like a military zone. The army, the air force, and the forces of every nation are always training, right? They're always training as though we're at war, but necessarily most nations or some nations are not at war, right? But the defense forces are ready at all times. So that's a kind of attitude that organizations should have in incident response. Behave like you're ready, behave like you're under attack, so that when the attack comes, you can respond appropriately. Like I said, I just want to note this, maybe to give you an interesting fact. Hackers spend 90% preparing and 10% executing. All right. So if somebody is being under attack, the attacker spent 90% preparing to attack and 10%
So it means
executing.
you have to be 180% ready to because
Exactly.
you have to spend twice the time you spent to to attack you.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is an interesting fact that I've always carried along, is to know that the person or the group of people, all right, because hackers go from individuals to even state-sponsored attacks, all right. So these attacks, their philosophy is to spend 90% preparing and then 10% executing. So by the time they're executing, they are almost always sure that they're gonna hit their target. You see, but as an organization, you can mitigate that by the way you said, by being 180% prepared. It is possible, right? Just by this wonderful workshop, you are one step ahead now. Everyone who's listening, in getting prepared. All right. So another aspect to consider in incident response and business continuity is recovery and continuity. How do we recover and how do we continue? You can have a regular and secure backups, right? In case a system has been infected with a particular virus, you can just isolate it, and as you continue with your business, to identify, contain, eradicate, recovery, and lesson learned away from the normal running of the business.
Okay.
Just and then implement offsite and cloud backups. Again, remember we talked about cloud computing and cloud architecture. So if you have your cloud architecture or incorporated in your organization, when the attacks come in, it is just on the information that is already on site. So you can continue with the information that is already backed up in the cloud, or you have a completely off-site database that you can quickly pull your data from and continue business as usual, even though you're under attack. So this is a very
No,
readiness
for real, I see cybersecurity like the digital what do you call it, military, because every day, like you said, every day you just have to be prepared, whether you're being attacked or not, because you don't know who is actually having their eyes on you, who has been spending the past 3 months or 6 months just waiting for one window to just have access to your system, and then that is all they need.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So like we said, you must having an offsite backup or cloud backups will help you quickly get back on your feet. You see, because the idea of the attack is to cripple your processes. So if you can avert that by having the data which they are against or which they have attacked still relevant, and you see, technology makes it possible for us to do that. All right. And as well, the second point on recovery and continuity is to create a disaster recovery plan with a step-by-step procedure. Like, what do we do when this has happened? How do we recover? And how do we know that we have recovered? And how do we know that we have continued? There has to be a step-by-step a plan and procedure to help that happen for recovery and continuity. And then finally is to conduct post-incident reviews to improve plans, as well regular audit and penetration testing. Again, penetration testing is as well an offshoot of its own. There are people who just specialize in testing systems, testing the vulnerabilities of systems, so that you can make or take actions on those vulnerabilities as soon as possible. An audit will help you do that. The penetration testing will also help you do that. All right. For example, we can just simulate the way we talked about password managers. Can we actually get your password by just observing you, by just following you around, just to see? And then if we get it, how did we get it, and how can we mitigate anybody else who is malicious from getting it? So these are one of the things that pen testers do to help fortify the system, all right, so that it is more robust and more fortified, that your systems are more secured. The fifth and final point, which I'm going to be talking about tonight, is leveraging emerging technologies. This is quite exciting, because this is where we talk about AI and machine learning. AI has come in now to give a greater disruption of the cyberspace. You see, so AI can be used or is used in securing the cyberspace. All right, it can as well be used to attack, because it is what it is. It's a machine. All right, so so you can imagine an artificial intelligence attack. You must be at the level of also artificial intelligence protection. All right, it's basically to identify patterns and anomalies, because most let me just give a basic computing computer philosophy, so to say, is that it goes from input, process, and output. Okay, input, process, and output. So if there's an anomaly in the input, in the process, or the output and the feedback, an AI deployed tool can easily identify those anomalies and have detect it, and then you can take procedures in, and as well automate routine security tasks to improve efficiency and response time. So many of these practices can now be automated, or reminders can be set with AI. You see, there are a lot of amazing things that we can do to help with the help of artificial intelligence, to help automate security routines. You see, so that for example, lock you out of the system to ensure that you change your password, okay, at the time that is set, or to help you remind to set the update or send out the emails for the new threat, whatever it is that AI can come in to help automate routine security, the routine security tasks to improve efficiency and the response time. So if you're under attack, call who, do this, up to date this, set this in motion so that we can as well identify, contain, eradicate, recover, and learn our lessons, right?
So,
And then,
if I may ask, please,
yes,
will
sir.
you say with the emergence of AI and what people actually, like you've mentioned or like you've explained, what people are actually doing with what they
Yeah.
call it, how AI is working, will you say we should at least give trust to AI to be able to secure some of our systems, that is regarding to cyber threats?
Yeah.
So I'm
So
asking,
again,
you got my question right?
Yeah, if I get it right, should we trust and rely artificial intelligence
Yes.
in some of the processes of securing our systems?
Yes.
Well, put it this way, there are also attackers are using AI. All right, so the attackers have trusted AI to deploy some malicious attacks. All right, and the same AI can as well be programmed, all right, to secure systems, to secure endpoints. Okay, to identify this is something that we don't, or that is allowed or not allowed. To give that one of the, I think 80% of the work is done when we are able to identify, first of all, that we are under attack.
Okay.
All right, 80% of the work is done once we are able to identify, because advanced persistent threats are able to stay undetected for a long time. You see, that's the problem. So by the time you're realizing, credit card information has been going for years. Do you get?
That really
Or
happened?
yeah, there's some reports. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. There was a case of Yahoo email services. All right, where the information of users were exposed to attackers for a long period of time. You see, so you don't, that's the point again. Identifying that we are under attack or there's a loophole, a huge majority of the problem can then begin to be solved. You see, so when you don't even know that you're under attack, the attackers are happy. They don't want you to know. It's better they stay undetected and cause havoc and leave. You see, because the most attacks are to access information, steal data, in large sums. Okay, so the more undetected they can get in, the better for them. But artificial intelligence can help in detecting, all right, by identifying these patterns and anomalies of working these malicious attacks, right? And then I hope that answers the question. I hope
Yes, of
that
course, please.
all right. So in leveraging emerging technologies, you can as well deploy the zero trust architecture. Zero trust architecture basically means operating the principle of never trust, always verify. It doesn't matter the user, never trust, always verify. You see. So for example, there are levels of organization. So maybe a managerial level, they say, oh, everybody here has these privileges. So you can use. So if an attacker gets to the level of the manager, he's able to attack there. But you see, when you apply the zero trust architecture, nobody is trusted. Everybody has to be verified. Everybody has to be verified. All right, so that we maintain a more secure environment. And as well, the second thing is implementing network segmentation and multi-factor authentication. Again, to understand cybersecurity, there has to be a bit of a lot of knowledge and awareness of how networks work. All right,
Okay.
how the internet itself works. So having a segmentation of networks, meaning that even though we are in the same organization, some of this can be clustered into its own sort of intranet, okay, like cloud, so that when one is vulnerable or one is under attack, all the rest are not under attack. And we can just isolate that segment which is under attack and address it within its cloud, so to say. All right, so that's a good way to not expose the entire system to the attack, so that we can continue to function at a particular level as we deal with the incidents that is happening at a particular segment. I hope that makes it a bit more understandable. And of course, reduce the attack surface significantly. That is, the zero trust architecture reduces the attack surface. So instead of just allowing a group of people have certain privileges that gives them more, will I say, access to certain information, we have to trust every device. We have to not trust any device at all. We must always verify every device. And there's an architecture right now, which in the past, will I say, 1 year to 2 years, is being adopted more, the zero trust architecture. And as well, another emerging technologies that we can leverage is the blockchain and IoT security. This was where I was telling you about that. We're going to talk about the Internet of Things a bit later. And blockchain and IoT security. Blockchain is basically a way of securing data or encrypting data in blocks. Okay. Again, I don't know if maybe some might be intimidated with the blockchain technology. Break it down. I'm trying to really be as simple as possible so that the concept can be understood. Blockchain simply means that the information or the group of information or data is stored in blocks across many computers or across many systems. So if you make a change in one table, so to say, the same change is across all other tables simultaneously. So when one change that is not consistent with others is noted, you are easy to identify it. So it is very difficult to break into the blockchain, because you have to go around changing every variable in all those computers. You see how the security of blockchain helps to secure the data. Yeah.
But how do these guys come up with all of this, what do you call it, all of this system that you have to segment one after the other? How did it? Because I can imagine maybe sending what do you call it, sending stuff via crypto, right? Like one of those aspects of blockchain. And if you have to use a different address, you're not going to receive it.
Yes. So let me try and again break down the complexity, maybe to give you a bit of understanding. Of course, this has come from many hours and many years of professionalism, expertise in cryptography and cybersecurity, where the blockchain technology, let's say for example, is being hosted in a particular server, but this server is made up of multiple computers, all right, which have the table of information on each of those servers. So each of the copies of those, let's say a record of names. Let me just try and do a record of names. This same record is on every computer that is in this server. A new user somewhere else will have the same copy to them. All right. And we're all connected through the internet. Okay. So everything is on the internet, is online. So a change in my data in my computer, which of course, as a user, I have a particular unique identifier. All right. Now, if I make a change there, every system across the world, which I am identified as, will also make that particular change, verifying my unique identifier. All right. So if, let's say, a foreign user tries to make a change to the information that is being sent or received, of course, if the unique identifier doesn't match with every computer or every computing device that has that table, it will be identified as a threat and it won't go, basically giving it a sense of more robust security around it. Is that simple enough, or do I need to?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it
All
is.
right. So blockchain and IoT security, again, IoT, when I talked about it, is the Internet of Things. Many things have now become, in quote, smart. So we have smart watches, we have even now smart shoes, we have smart cars, smart CCTV cameras, smart ACs, smart. All of these things must be developed or secured so that it doesn't become a weak point for the entire system. All right, TVs are now smarter, but TVs that can connect to the internet. But the TV itself, is it secured? That's what we are talking about, the internet IoT security. That these endpoints or these other devices that are being connected within a network, are they secured? Basically, that is why we must ensure that this IoT security is at it, and that is secured by secure transactions with blockchain technology. So blockchain can help you secure the IoT. All right. So each of those things are within the blockchain. And then regular updates of IoT device firmware and enforce strong authentication. So again, updates are important. Updates are important. A threat that has been identified and sorted out, and then the new update. Meanwhile, you're operating at the older version of it. That older version is at the more is susceptible to attacks because it is just at the older uh, um, version of it, which they have identified those bugs, those loopholes that can be exploited by attackers, and they have fixed it or they have mitigated it, right? And they have given you a better update. It is safer to go to the to the update, and even of course, the feeling that one might have can be addressed with proper training. The way we talked about the role of leaders creating a culture of cyber security. So those will I call it let me for lack of a better word now, domestics of how we might feel or not feel about updates and all those things can be addressed with the information of the importance of cyber security and why we need this update on a regular and with our Internet of Things. Yeah. So in conclusion, to wrap up, we've covered the current landscape, the importance of cyber hygiene, building a cybersecurity culture, incident response, and leveraging emerging technologies. Implementing these strategies can significantly enhance your organization's cybersecurity posture. So thank you so much for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions now.
Okay. Well, I know you've been taking quite a lot of questions already, so I won't say you'll be taking fresh questions. But I know we've exhausted over an hour. Interestingly, we've had a very, very interesting talk here. And I'm very happy for the breakdown you've been able to give so far with all the insight. Looking at how important we need to understand what cyber security itself and the attacks and the threats we also need to be aware of. And most importantly, the data talking about what do you call it? SMEs, how SMEs get affected with all of that which is going on, right? As regarding to how AI and the whole technology system is changing this process. But I want to ask, I just want to take you back a little bit to your early part of the slide where you talked about understanding cyber security threats. So can you please explain just in detail what do you call it? What's smishing itself? I just want to get back to that because for the benefit of those who will be listening to this, what smishing itself is and what phishing itself is. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So where we talked about understanding the threat landscape, these are just understanding the dangers that are out there, so to say. All right, that most organizations are going to face, already facing, or have faced. So phishing basically is a way of trying to get access into an organization's network through emails. All right, phishing is basically an email customized attack. So the attacker drafts or prepares a message that looks like, let's say, it's coming from management. Okay, from let me just use this scenario, coming from management. So the message might say, click on this link to register for the upcoming webinar. Meanwhile, the link itself is a malicious is a malicious payload. Once at the click of the link, it installs a malware into your system, and through that, the attacker has a backdoor into your computer, into the network, and into the entire organization's cyber framework, basically. So the attack is basically through emails, right? So emails. So organizations communicate a lot, of course, through emails, official lines of communication. So what attackers do is to, again, find a way to craft the message to look exactly like the original website, the original office, to convince the reader or their target that this is actually real. But their aim is to deliver a payload. So at the point of clicking the link, at the point of clicking on the picture or clicking on anything around there, you expose the attacker has access to the system. And one of the ways to identify this is again by training, being aware of it and how they actually do it, because it's very, they can, let's say, for example, Amazon, right? Amazon.com, right? The attacker will change the first A or use two A's, right? Amazon. See, it's something that can easily slip your mind. And you say, oh, it's actually Amazon. You click and then you give your credit card information, and boom,
wow.
you've been exposed. So again, that phishing talks about the threat that is being portrayed through emails. Again, the information is email. Why smishing is through text messages, right? Text messaging. So they might tell you, let's say, shipping company like FedEx, oh, check your tracking number. Please click this link to verify that your whatever it is. They craft the SMS message again to try to gain information from their victim, to try to gain access into the system, or to try to steal information. All right. So as well, smishing and phishing are very similar. Just that phishing is mostly emails. All right. With the logo of the company or a make look logo of the company, with the wordings of the company, or the shift change of character. So there's a character that looks like A but is not A. So there's a way you must be really keen to identify. That's why I talked about tabletop practices or tabletop or creating scenarios, to help end users, to help them identify such a thing, you see, and to know and to have a zero trust architecture across, that no device is trusted, all right? Or to have like a policy, we don't send links through emails, for example. This is just an example. A company can have a policy, no sending of links through emails. But when somebody receives a link through email, that's a problem. Now you can easily identify that this is not from us. So how did they get access? How can we deny them access, and how can we stop this from repeating itself? And what can we do to mitigate it? So again, phishing is more email-oriented attacks of crafting a message with the intent of stealing data, gaining access into the system, or with their malicious intentions of distorting the normal processes of businesses. Why smishing is more or less text messages. You see, most businesses have a broadcast for messages, for promotions, updates, tracking, or whatever it is. So hackers get that message and study it. Remember, I told you that hackers or malicious intentions spend 90% of their time preparing.
Wow.
All right, and 10% executing. All right, so they take time to study it and then craft a similar one. But most times, with a keen eye and with practice as well. Remember, to identify these things, you have to practice with it. You have to practice. Sometimes we use real life scenarios. Of course, in a DM zone, demilitarized DMZ. We set up what's it called, a scenario, like an organization running completely, all right? And so we put those scenarios in place, and the
Test
virus
different
has entered.
approach.
Yeah, so what do we do now? Who responds here? Because you could find that if you don't identify, or if you don't put roles on who's doing what, everybody can be at identifying the threat and forget to mitigate the threat, to segregate the network, and to learn from it. So all of us are all identifying, and the attacker is busy having a field day in other areas. So it's important for us to share roles, to have a goal, how I put it, like a run through, a dry run of what it is will happen in an event of phishing or smishing.
Okay, so lastly, before we wrap up this very webinar, you've talked about rules. You've mentioned rules like in most of your discussions here, right? So
Yes.
what are some of these rules in a structured organization or big corporation? What are some of these rules in cybersecurity that you think organizations that you've seen the most? Like you mentioned, one of them is the incident. I think you mentioned incident response
Yes.
team, right, or experts. Yeah.
Yes.
So, what other roles are in those spaces that people can also have their eyes on?
Okay, some of these roles will most likely, let me just use one that I experienced while working as we worked in the health sector. I worked with the chief information officer of the hospital, of the health organization. All right. So under the CIO, chief information officer, he also had the chief security officer.
Oh, okay.
So the chief security officer and the chief information officer have their own individual teams.
Okay.
All right. So then these two teams include network engineers, network specialists, software companies, liaisons for the softwares that we are using in the finance department, for the doctors putting up appointments, for the systems running and updates. All right. So let's for an incident response, there should be, among those already existing dockets, so to say, and the teams that are already there within the organization, is just to now put in the place of incident response, and they can as well add on to it, because again, like I said, many of these aspects that I've mentioned, there are specialties. Actually, there's somebody who there's a specialty on just identifying, there's another specialty on just penetration test, there's another aspect of auditing, which I did as well, how to audit a system, right? And to give recommendation of what to do to improve the system. So all of this must be talking together. That's why you have to develop the incident response plan. Is the plan that will help identify those roles and who will play those roles. But most likely, if an organization has already an IT department, chief information officer, chief security officer, those roles are going to come in now, where we begin to have the incident response plan. Okay. It's the plan that will help us identify those roles and what to do when we are dealing with those threats.
Okay. Thank you very much, Obinna. Thank you very much for the insights you've been able to share today. And I must say, today I'm leaving here very, very satisfied because if not because there is too much writing of codes and writing of back-end information and seeing too much letters and words that can be very, 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 very dizzy to the eyes, I would have said, okay, maybe today after that I'm going to become a convert. Because the aspect of cybersecurity is something that everybody, if possible, everybody should be able to, jump on it, because it's very, very important. While technology is becoming the order of the day, the bigger it gets, the bigger the threats, right? The bigger it gets, the bigger the threats. And if you're not fully aware of each of these informations ahead of time, we'll end up spending more, because if the hackers, like you mentioned, get to, find a safe ground and have to probably build duplex and have a swimming pool and jacuzzi in your system, you know that you're going to be paying so much money. just to get a system or just to get that aspect which they've been able to have access to back into your hands. So, but I'm happy that you've been able to simplify each of this process for everyone who's listening to this and also who will be listening to this to also get a fair knowledge of what cybersecurity is all about, the threats that it poses, and the opportunities that we can also see that it has also created, because that's why I had to ask about some of these roles, which you've mentioned some of them, that will also foster, productivity and also foster growth in every organization. So I must say thank you very much for the time well spent, and thank you very much for all the insights you've been able to share. And before we leave, I want to know if you have any last words for us to be able to understand cybersecurity, or for us to go back with, or to leave us with information on cybersecurity, so that we can look at the threats, or probably the future and what the future holds for cybersecurity. If we'll have to be running away, or because I know AI in a way, people would say tomorrow we might be fighting with AI and all of that. Yes, AI has come to stay, and it's we who created it. But also the amount of information we also feed it to determine what it will do in the coming future, right? And the accessibility we give to it also determine what's going to happen in the coming future. But please, let's hear some last words from you so that we can live and beat ourselves by with that.
All right. So thank you so much. I've had a great time, sharing and talking about this. And I think to just like you said, a parting shot is to, again, cybersecurity is an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process. It's not necessarily a destination. It's always ongoing. You must be or set up measures to keep you moving from one level to the next. Attending this workshop is one step of it, right? And then going ahead to put some of these things we've talked about, if not all, into practice will as well help you just get the ball rolling, all right? And staying ahead in information, and bringing more expertise to it to get down to the nitty gritties of ensuring cybersecurity. But be sure that securing your cyberspace begins with you. All right. The weakest point in the cybersecurity sphere is the human interaction, because systems are not designed to fail, so to say. It is the human error that brings in those loopholes that can be exploited. Right. So it's not. It's very important for us to continue to progressively practice these measures to help build stronger, secure cyberspace for our organizations, for our businesses, and especially for our personal lives. And I'm sure that we are going to be much better off and even more comfortable in creating more awareness about it, so that we are not very TikTok already. When you hear cybersecurity, they're like, "Oh, it's okay." No. We have to engage it. All right. So we remove the mystique and the mystery around it, and actually see that it's a progressive venture. All right. You start from where you are, but quickly begin to rack it up, so that as you grow as an organization, you are not more vulnerable for big time threats. You are able to mitigate, learn from it, become stronger, and continue growing. I think that will be, and don't be scared of cybersecurity.
After today, I'm not going to be scared anymore. Thank you very much for all the insights, and thank you for the friends. I appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah, bye.